morning. Hello. Oh, nice, gentle, soft hello. Better than me screaming across the room. Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome. I shouldn't stand in front of that. Welcome to the 2025 Culture Forum. This is the first time we've ever attempted something like this. And I think we might pull it off. We'll see. We've got a few hours before we'll know. So why are we here? Because times are hard. Ooh, they're hard and they're messy and they're yucky and they don't feel good. And when that happens, we need to find community. And one of the biggest things I heard yesterday from the Wyoming Arts Alliance's Cultural Sector Report was that there is a disconnect in the arts and culture sector. A disconnect between the sector and other sectors, a disconnect within the sector, right? And that's what we're here to fix. And I'm really excited about that. So you may not have known this when you signed up today, but you're gonna leave here with a meeting on your calendar. Yes, you are. You're gonna leave with a meeting on your calendar because guess what? It doesn't end here. No, 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 not today. Not today. We're gonna make you hold yourselves accountable. We're gonna hold each other accountable. And these are gonna be actually real, attainable goals that you are gonna set for your organizations, maybe for yourselves professionally too. And we're gonna do it together. And the whole point of us being in this room together, all these different institutions, different sizes, different budgets, right? Different purposes and missions. We're all here so that we know what everyone does. So when we have a problem or we have a challenge or we have a question, we can say, oh, I remember Morgan had that same problem 2 years ago. I'm gonna call her. Or Stacy knows someone in Lander who knows something about that thing. I'm gonna call her, right? That's what this is about. Because literally, right, we know this about Wyoming and almost anywhere. It's all about who you know, right? It's all about who you know. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to pick up the phone and call each other. And I hope that's what we can end up doing at the end of the day today. I'm so excited to be here. Culture does grow here in Wyoming. And it always has and it always will. And those are facts. That is the truth. That's why you're here. That's why you're in this room. And I think what we need to do is we need to look at the cultural sector and we need to look at our work just like oil and coal. It's boom and bust, right? It's feast or famine, right? And right now we're maybe hungry. We're getting a little hungry maybe, right? And that's why we're gonna figure out who else is hungry, who has food, who can share, right? Who has the capacity. That's what today's about. We're gonna connect, really truly connect, and work on our organizations. And then we're gonna meet about it in 3 months. And we're gonna talk about our goals, we're gonna talk about our challenges, our successes, and then we're gonna set another goal. And we're gonna meet again in 3 more months after that. You didn't know that, did you? Oh, it's exciting. But what did we learn yesterday in Waya's presentation on the cultural sector, right? What's that number? What's that big fancy number? 1.3 billion. That's right. And what is that, Ryan? 1.3 billion what? Dollars that the arts and culture contribute to the state of Wyoming. That's huge. It's huge. It's 2.7% of the state's economy. Guess what that's more than? Ag. Sorry. Oh, I know. Sorry. I'm not discrediting ag. But let's get in the conversation too, right? Like we're major players, you guys. And I'm telling you these numbers to root you in reality. That's reality. We're doing that. We're contributing that to this state. What you do is not foo-foo, okay? What you do is not extra. What you do is provide a place that people want to be, right? That's why we're here. And I'm so excited you're all here. I cannot believe how many people are in the room today. I gotta admit, I was a little nervous, but what a great day. This is going to be so, so wonderful. I have a few thank yous. First, thanks to the Lyric. This is an incredible space. So happy to have kind of tagged on to the Art Summit's reservation. Yes, we're so thrilled about that. We want to thank Scarlo's for providing coffee. Artifacts was a donor for this event. You'll also see a handout in your packet from Artifacts and ACM Consulting about a very exciting program, Innovating in the Humanities. We can talk about that more later. Wyoming Humanities board members that supported this vision with no money. I'm really grateful for you. Thank you very much. And I want to acknowledge our board members in the room today, Stacy Stebner and Sheila Bush. Thank you so much. Our chair and vice chair of the Wyoming Humanities Board. Thank you. And Wyoming Humanities staff. That is me and Olivia. Whoop, whoop. As of 3 weeks ago, Olivia is on board, and we couldn't be more thrilled. So thank you so much. Another donor to this event also was Nick and Maggie Murdoch. So thanks to you, Nick and Maggie. Appreciate you so much. But here we are. I think we're ready for you, Liz. I think we're ready for the big deal of it, right? Are you ready? I want to introduce everyone. This is Liz Toohey. She's going to be our facilitator for the morning, for the day. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for walking us through this. I'm so excited, you guys. I'm so excited. I hope it's palpable. Okay, here we go. I'm sweaty. That's great. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Liz Toohey. I'm going to try real hard to use the microphone all day, but anybody feel free to point out if I'm not. We want to help our streaming participants know that they're part of the group, so welcome for folks who are not with us today. So my name's Liz. I live in Lander, Wyoming. I moved here in 1994, so 31 years and running. I have raised an 18-year-old here. I am so deeply grateful for the arts and humanities that I have been able to take part in. My son has taken part in things from mural projects to Kids Shakespeare, and I just have had a great time last night and this morning listening to things that I don't even know are happening that you all are doing to support Wyoming. I came here to work for the National Outdoor Leadership School, or NOLS, which I think some folks are familiar with and some aren't. We're based in Lander, but we're a global organization. We have staff and programs in Chile and Alaska and East Africa, India, but it's all headquarters in Wyoming. I've spent the last 30 years working for NOLS. I don't anymore, but a lot of the work I do is informed by NOLS, and specifically by being in the wilderness in challenging conditions with small teams. So when I think about leadership, I think anytime you're in a group of people, whether it's professional or personal, and you all are working towards a goal, you don't have to be in charge of that group, but you're doing something in the group to help you move towards that goal. You're doing leadership. I love working with organizations in challenge, in dicey conditions that are changing, where the information is incomplete or stressful, or it changes over time. It's really similar to the environments that I'm used to in wilderness, and I think leadership lessons from wilderness settings really apply to really all organizations in all conditions, and particularly in the conditions that we're seeing right now. I want to have folks introduce themselves. So Chloe and I have been partnering on putting today together. Our goal, and a lot of the impetus and ideas for this are Chloe's, our goal is to provide a structure, but the real things that are going to happen today are you all talking to each other and you all doing work together. We're going to do a bunch of small breakout groups. Hopefully you'll get to work with a bunch of different people in the room. So with that in mind, be listening to people's names. So I'm gonna ask, let's start over here if that's okay, you to say your name, where you live, and your organization. And just be really loud if you can.
I'm a theater artist, so I can do that. I'm Ashton. I'm a local from Casper, and I'm here for Theater of the Poor, which is just was headquartered a couple blocks over. We just left our studio this month, so.
That was perfect. Do exactly what Ashton just did.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jessica Brower. I'm here from Laramie, representing Laramie Main Street Alliance and the Laramie Plains Civic Center.
Hi, my name is John Wilhelm. I'm also from Laramie. I'm here representing the Audio Library of the West, though I'm also at the University of Wyoming and a independent artist and musician myself.
Good morning, I'm Megan Stanfill. I'm with the Alliance for Historic Wyoming. We are the statewide nonprofit dedicated to historic preservation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ann Mason. I'm here with ACM Creative Consulting, but I'm also going to make sure that I pass all of this information along to Relative Theatrics back in Laramie, which I founded.
Good morning, I'm Kevin Ramler. I'm from Cheyenne here representing the State Museum.
And I am Renee Bobet with the Wyoming Cultural Trust Fund. I'm Rita Basin from Cheyenne. I'm on the board of WIA and a retired state arts administrator.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan O'Neill, and I'm also on the board with WIA.
Good morning, I'm Sarah Sheen. I'm Deputy Director for State Parks and Cultural Resources.
We're the state government table. Good morning, Rachel Clifton with the Wyoming Arts Council. Lindsay Grant, Casper. I'm with the Lyric, and I'm also on the board of the Wyoming Arts Alliance as well.
Hi. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Hillary Camino from Jackson, Wyoming. Grew up all over in Wyoming. Music therapist representing St. John's Health, where I work, and also I'm the chair and creator of the Wyoming Task Force of Music Therapists.
Hello, my name is Rainey Robison. I'm in Laramie. My business is Neptune Sugar, which is a marketing agency focused on arts and culture organizations.
I'll come this way. Seems scary with all the coffee cups. Hi, everyone. My name is Tess Middlestad. I'm with the Wyoming Nonprofit Network. I am their Director of Learning and Development, and I'm located here in Casper.
Hi, I'm Josh Chrysler from Cheyenne, and I'm a staff member at the Wyoming Arts Council.
So much happening. I'm Amara Faring. I live in Lander, and I am also staff on the Wyoming Arts Council.
We're the struggle bus table today, don't mind us. I'm Ashley Espinel. I'm from Cody. I'm wearing two hats today, one as a Wyoming Arts Council board member, and then my full-time day job is assistant curator of the Whitney Western Art Museum at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West.
Hi everyone, Marty Camino. I am from Jackson. I'm the executive director of the Center for the Arts in Jackson and also a working musician myself.
Really nice job demonstrating adapting to changing conditions over here.
Hi everybody, Millward Simpson. I'm the chair of the Board of Advisors for the American Heritage Center in Laramie, and Josh and I also serve on the Cheyenne Historic Preservation Board.
Good morning. My name is Sheila Bush. I'm from Cheyenne and the current member of the Wyoming Humanities Board.
Hi, I'm Stacy Stebner. I'm also in Lander, and I sit on the Wyoming Humanities Board.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bruce Thompson. I'm here on behalf of, I'm a board member, and I'm here on behalf of the Board of Advisors at the University of Wyoming College of Arts and Sciences, and also the Buffalo Bill Museum of the West, and I'm a past board member of the American Heritage Center.
Good morning. I'm Morgan Jowen. I'm with the Jackson Hole History Museum.
Great, thank you all.
It's an awesome bunch of people.
Yeah. Thank you, Millward. I think it's useful in a group like this to just take a quiet internal mental check right now with what is my tendency towards working independently or buckling down and working within my own organization versus reaching out and collaborating with other organizations. So just do a little self-check on what you usually do. And then I'm not telling you there's a right answer, there's no judgment on what you came up with. But is there something in that you want to shift today, and how might you do that? My experience with working with other organizations to collaborate on big goals is something like this. It's slower. And sometimes it's a multiplier to your thinking, and sometimes it's not. And sometimes you know coming out of a day like this what kind of collaboration or impact you're getting for your organization or yourself, and sometimes you don't. It definitely gives you a better community perspective on what other people are dealing with, and sometimes like hearing what other people are working with or challenges that others are seeing immediately helps you frame something that you're experiencing. Or sometimes 6 months later, you might experience something and think back to that conversation that you had today in Casper and realize, oh, now I see what they were talking about. And that's just like a useful thing for me to help frame really rapidly changing conditions. Or that just gives me an idea, or maybe an idea of somebody I want to call and like run an idea by. Yeah, maybe I'll leave it there. Our objectives for today are to focus on adaptability, sustainability, development, and partnerships. We'll come back to what we mean by those. To connect, to create, hopefully just a little bit of professional development opportunity for you all as individuals, particularly in navigating dynamic conditions. And hopefully to form a working group that works over the next year together in collaboration to help support and strengthen you all as organizations. My hope is that everybody comes out of today with one thing or one connection that they feel like is a new insight or of new value to you in your work. Our agenda, and you've got this in your packet, even broken down a little bit more specifically, but right now, Chloe just kicked us off. I am going to talk for a little bit about some leadership concepts, and then you all are going to break out and play around with those leadership concepts, and then that's an introduction towards us having conversations today about what's working, what are new challenges that we're seeing, and what are our like new ideas that we might use moving forward. Then we're going to take a break. Let's say 11 to 11:15 is our rough break time, We're not going to commit to it 100%, but we'll probably be close. And if you need to do something in the middle of the morning, that's 11 to 11:15, just step out. If you need at any point to do something that's going to help you this morning, restrooms are over there, coffee is over there, food's right next to it, or whatever you need to be doing, please don't hesitate to just stand up and walk away from whatever you're doing and come back. We'll come back after our break for an hour and 15 minutes to think about future and put some of those ideas into organizational goals. And also to talk about that work group and figure out some logistics for how that might look. And then Chloe will finish us out here by 12:30. And then if folks want to, you can stay for lunch and then come back for some cool grant announcements. Anything you want to add, Chloe? Great. All right, so we're going to start by talking about a tool called Working with Polarities. The why here is polarities are a tool to use in what we call adaptive leadership. Adaptive leadership is leadership for situations in which there are no prescripted answers. You encounter adaptive challenges in your jobs for sure before today. These are the things that you can't access a technical director or a technical consultant. No one's really been in this exact challenge with the people that I'm working with right now. And it's not a problem I'm trying to solve, it's a situation that I'm trying to address. And I know over time if I address it well, I might not ever get this clean check, we did it, we accomplished this, but I know that this is essential for moving our organization or our work forward. You have a packet in your envelope that looks like this. It's got a big, you don't need to look at, actually I probably shouldn't have told you because you might start reading it right now. Try not to read it yet. If you can. If you need to turn it upside down, that might help you. So a polarity is a dilemma that is ongoing, unsolvable, contains seemingly opposing ideas. It's things that you find yourself asking, should I do this or this? An example that comes up for me a lot in education or wilderness expedition in particular is, okay, right now, should I be supporting my students or should I be challenging my students? And the real answer is we should be doing both. And the better we do each of them, the more they will enhance each other. If I take a group of teenagers backpacking in a wilderness setting, they're gonna be challenged right off. And I'm not gonna take away the challenge to start adding support. In fact, I might be saying something like, all right, folks, this is gonna be hard. This is what other people have found to be hard about the thing you're about to do. I'm gonna teach you, I'm gonna support you by teaching you how to do it, and also I'm gonna encourage you and tell you that it's possible to get better really quickly at these things. And then as I support you, I'm watching people learn, and I'm gonna increase the challenge. So I can look at that situation though, and constantly think all right, am I finding the right balance here between support and challenge? And I might look for little clues that I'm doing too much. Like in my example here, if we're doing too much challenge, what I end up seeing is teenagers who don't want to get up in the morning. Or if I am doing too much support, I'm seeing teenagers that actually stay up really late at night because they're bored and they're not that engaged in what I'm doing, so they're going to create their own thing. So if you look at, now you can look, an example here, and this is to give you a different example, but it's also to help you see how this worksheet is going to work, because then you're going to fill out a worksheet for a different topic. But so the polarity that we have here is an organizational leadership polarity with providing direction on the left, see that oval, and inviting participation on the right. And I'm just going to sort of hand select one in each of these, but the concept here is that if I, as a leader, provide enough direction, I'm giving people direction when people need it. On the other hand, if I'm inviting participation, people are adding their best thinking to the organization's plans, and I'm benefiting from that. If I focus too much, so now we're on the downsides, on providing directions, I might start ignoring people's ideas, and in particular ignoring the helpful ideas that would be better if we were listening to. And if I err too much on the side of inviting participation, people aren't getting the guidance they need and are maybe wasting a bunch of time. Anyone have any questions before we move into the activity piece of this? Who's going to ask a question in a big, quiet group like this? I don't know. Maybe no one. So maybe you understand it, maybe you don't. And I'm hoping that if you break out now into groups of 2 or 3, that you'll either figure it out as you go, or I'll walk around and you can ask a question, or somebody will understand. What you're going to do now is go to what is page 2 in your packet. You'll know it's the right one if it's blank, mostly blank in the middle. And if you've got upsides and downsides on the left and right, there's another blank one that has other words that won't help you here. And we're going to spend like 10 minutes in groups of 2 or 3, and you're going to write down rooted in reality on the left side and future-oriented on the right. And maybe I'll just throw out a couple of examples. Rooted in reality could be things are really hard right now and I'm aware of that, or it could be things are great right now and I'm aware of that too. But an example of being strong and rooted in reality is that my organization's paying attention to current conditions and what to respond to. An example of future-oriented is my organization is innovating and thinking up new ways of working. An example of being overly focused on rooted in reality, if things are great, could mean complacency. I'm so psyched about the way we've been doing things for the last 10 years that we're just going to keep doing that. Or it could be I'm so depressed about all the current conditions right now that I am not getting much done because that's taking my effort. An example of being too future-oriented is I'm not paying attention to my budget until it's way too late and I've missed it. All right, so groups of 2 or 3, 10 minutes. Start filling out at least one in each box, but just have a conversation. This could be conceptual or it could be things you're seeing in your organizations right now. Okay, go.
Oh no! What have I done? It's not like everyone else isn't sitting with their coworkers and board members or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Things that you can implement somewhat immediately.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, and rooted in reality could inspire you to act.
It also, I think there's something about when things are, when you're rooted in reality,
I'm
you set realistic goals.
Yeah.
You know?
question. Do you think it's easier to move this direction? Like think about upsides, or is it easier to move in on this axis? Okay.
Oh man.
All right. Great.
What'd you say, squat?
Well, I mean, and that's the point. Is like because these become near angles like this, right? And that's kind of what is going to happen. Is that like making it
weight oriented.
that out of the way. So if you had like a if there was a down, if there's a downside to being too future oriented, it would be that's unreal. And it's because I think you could end up in this space while still being while being not completely out of left field. But just like you have completely foregone the
situation
at hand.
Yeah.
So then,
One thing is I feel like it's really easy to take. Mostly just sit around and be like, everything will be done. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've been in a lot of situations where people just want to make plans for what you could do, and then you never do it. Yeah,
I do like unattainable aspirations.
you know. And then you get to the point where you're like, well, what are our resources? What are the issues? And that's not as fun. And actual decisions.
and I think there's something about getting lost in you can get lost. It's usually get lost in your mind. Lost in your if there's a lost in this like vast
Like, yeah. What they all immediately so then I wonder the downside.
You're just like living in theory. Lack of action.
lack of action and a like a real sense of
And do you think, those ideas of more future oriented that can kind of dominate?
I keep them like theoretical, but I don't know if that's
because it feels like you're bringing down the
so
so it's hard to kind of bring that
tangible descriptions of when a situation becomes too theoretical, like when a problem becomes too only. So maybe that is that's the, and that is the like.
I feel like, right, and we would.
That is
the. Right. I was about to say.
I feel like that's the default assumption
but you have to have both.
About looking forward, right? The default assumption about progress is that it is big. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah. Whereas. Yeah.
Right, and so an upside of what you were talking about, I think, is future-oriented rally support.
Like sometimes
big support, right? Inspire others to join and get behind you.
Sometimes you think something is this when it's actually just this, and then suddenly we can this down here, then this becomes a detriment to actual achieving your goals. It's just the novelty of the idea of that novelty. So like, I put a little asterisk. Yeah, I'll put a little asterisk there for that one. For that is, I think, the thing that makes sense.
Adaptable, being future oriented, could be being yeah. So like in the example of like money needs. Like,
All right, 2 minutes left. And I'm just going to challenge folks, if you think you've filled it out and you've got a good idea, just think through like, okay, I'm working with this person. There's a conversation here to be had. How do I find it? And maybe it's a little bit of deepening in, or maybe you're checking in with yourself of, do I think I know how my organization's doing on this balance right now? Do I know how the people I'm talking with are doing on this balance right now? Just some ideas, 2 minutes.
The thing that I was thinking of, guardrails are good, but I don't know better word, like,
Creative constraints.
Of course, there's a balance, but which do you think is more important? Well, of course there's.
I mean, the other thing, like, if we sort of could imagine these as, as the plot graph, the thing that I think of that gets the furthest into this corner of like the most downside and the most fear,
Which do you think is more important?
Access is, right, is like this becomes fatalistic, this becomes pedestrian, this becomes purely negative. Sort of purely.
That's how I feel.
Nihilistic, cynical thinking.
instead of like the future oriented, where it's like, yeah, you have all these great aspirations, but you're not.
Let's push the refresh button.
Yeah, this is because you can end up in the same spot.
Which is actually very good.
I don't know if familiar with the
psychoanalyzation, how they become rebels. It's not because we're not going to be practicing truth, but I think really having that new vision.
All right, we'll wrap it up.
Well, our problem.
Good. We did it.
Part of us doing this work is just to prime our brains to be available for the work that we're going to be doing in the next couple of hours. And I just like to circle back to the objectives while your brains are a little bit more awake. So our objectives are adaptability, sustainability, developments, partnerships, connection, professional development, and moving towards a working group. All of that is towards a bigger goal of supporting Wyoming arts and humanities and helping Wyoming thrive. So a balance that I also like to be thinking about with a workshop like today is we're talking about today and we're talking about the future. We're doing it with the idea of leaving here with some action steps for the future. I think it's also just good to think about the benefit of the meeting today. And even if, don't worry, Chloe, I'm not suggesting that this is a good idea, but even if you left here and didn't do anything that you talked about, didn't connect with any other organization, there is benefit for Wyoming Arts and Humanities in our conversations today. So play around with that a little bit while you're talking to each other, and that benefit might be for you in enabling your organization to benefit Wyoming more, or it might be helping other people, or just helping the whole vibe here. So, sustainability, partnerships, development, and adaptability. Thank you for everybody who filled out a survey. Yeah, I'm gonna read some things, definitions and examples that come from the words in the surveys. I'm gonna start with sustainability. So this group put together, or the folks who filled out surveys, no judgment if you didn't. Okay, maybe by Chloe, not by me. That's how we're good partners here. Defined sustainability as a commitment to the organization's mission and people through establishing a dependable financial future without daily worry. Some quotes that we both thought were awesome that just wanted to share for what this group's talking about when we're talking about sustainability. For us, it's more of a regional sustainability and how to help organizations get there. Nonprofit organizations, and to a certain extent, even government programs, must work similar to a business. The mission doesn't change, but how the mission is accomplished and what resources are brought in to continue the mission needs to be constantly evaluated. A dependable financial future for continued work, growth opportunities for appropriately compensated staff, and big picture visioning that makes the work feel not just possible, but also exciting. Not worrying about how to turn the lights on, thinking beyond the next day into the next year for planning. Maybe not worrying at all about turning the lights on fits on one side of that polarity. How do we keep going when the arts and humanities are being attacked and deliberately dismantled and defunded? This group defined development as growing fundraising and friend-raising for organizations by using the cultural network and our interpersonal relationships. This group defined partnerships as working with other organizations or groups to grow, retain, support, explore new programs, events, and other outreach opportunities. Everybody who responded to the survey reported having quote unquote many partners versus a few partners or no partners, and put them in the category of either incredible, excellent, superb, or solid, reliable, steady, or good, acceptable, and nice. Adaptability, our definition was to be flexible, resilient, and responsive to changes typically outside of our control. A few quotes from surveys were, responding to ever-changing ideas, politics, and priorities. Not so rigid in the way things have always been done. To be adaptable is to be resilient and able to pivot staff, programs, partners, and policy without significant setbacks, turbulence, or widespread team and partner burnout. Times are changing fast. Organizations need to develop flexibility and responsiveness, but not to the degree that they sacrifice their mission and objectives. Meet the needs of the West. One piece that I want to add to that, because I think it's important from an organizational standpoint, is the difference between resilience and adaptability, which might seem obvious to you, but it wasn't to me. And when I was working at like the executive level at Knowles, and we were struggling with finances in the last 5 years after COVID, we talked a bunch about resiliency being when you have a major disruption and you're trying to get back to level ground. So essentially back to the place you started, which is a worthy goal. Adaptation, on the other hand, is you have a big disruption and you learn new ways of being in the world. So you're always thinking, you're evolving with an always evolving world. And I think that's just a good framework to be thinking right now. All right, so the other thing that you have, actually no, we're not doing that yet, sorry. We are going to break up now into discussion groups for a solid 45 or 50 minutes. And then we're gonna come back and a representative from that group is gonna share out what you came up with. But the goal is to look at these 4 areas and share across organizations new challenges that you're seeing today that you haven't seen before. And let me just back up and say, anytime we're giving you instructions for the day, go back to that thing I said earlier about here's an opportunity for a conversation that only exists with the people that you're talking with right now. Find the valuable conversation. Like if you decide there's a conversation that's more important for you than whatever we've slated out, adapt, like do that instead. Just be careful that you're not like taking 4 other people on your party of what's useful for you. So there's some communication in there. So new challenges that you haven't seen before. When we're talking about new challenges, what we think will be most productive for you all is to think about curiosity, learning from each other, and just trying to name the challenges in front of you, and not to spend the whole time venting about those challenges. And like learning how the challenges are different between different organizations. All right, so new challenges, things that are working, either in response to those challenges. It could be like, oh, we've got this thing that we've always done, and wow, are we glad we have it right now, and here's why. Or we tried something different, and this is really working. And then the third is ideas that you're playing around with or have heard from someone else. This is like a brainstorming thing. So some brainstorm rules, and I'm assuming a bunch of this is things you've heard before, things you use all the time, so thank you for bearing with me if that's the case. But things that help in brainstorming times are you don't have to agree. You can put 2 things on the list that are 100% in opposition. That's great. Don't troubleshoot. You're not trying to fix things, you're just writing them down. If you're elaborating, you're explaining. A way to think about it in innovation space, if you're really coming up with a new idea, it takes a little while to get strong enough to stand on its own. So you can think of it as like that little sunflower seedling that comes out of the ground. And if somebody's like trying to play devil's advocate or thinking of the reasons it won't work, it's like somebody just like stepping on that thing and it can't grow further. So if you're, so just try to turn that part of your brain off. It's also a useful part of your brain. Why isn't this gonna work? But if you're gonna try to build in the conversation, do more questioning. Like, oh, why do you think that's a good idea? Or how do you think that might help? Or how do you think that connects to this challenge that we were working with? And then, well, here's some logistics. So before I forget, there are some folks that are leaving. We'll be doing this whole process till 11. These discussion groups will go to roughly 10:40. As you're making groups up, if you're someone who's leaving before that time, like just make sure that you're kind of an extra in the group. In other words, try not to have 4 people who are leaving and 1 person who's staying, so then that person's all alone. But other than that, like, we're gonna break up into groups of, I think 5. 4 is better than 6 if you're messing around with those. I think 6 is too many. I think 4 is fine. I think 5 is a great way to hear from a bunch of other organizations. I know when I come into a space like this, I find my seat and I kind of want to stay there. And that's okay, and put some thought into who your group is. Meaning, if there's 3 of you from the same organization, we think probably you'll do best by being in 3 different groups. If you disagree with that, that's fine. Just make sure the whole conversation isn't about your group. There's some balance here of just being available for whoever's in the room and whoever you might talk to, and thinking like, oh, if this person is like in a group that I never get to talk to but is really similar to mine or comparable or something like that, I want to try to like have this person in my group. I'll give you that flexibility. I think that's all I have. But before you move around, we're going to give you a few minutes to just find your group of 4 or 5. When you get there, one person, just off the bat so you don't forget, should volunteer to be the person who comes up and talks at the end and shares some of what you came up with. I'm also going to give you a big piece of white paper. So we're not going to share all of our ideas, but if you can write down a lot of them, Chloe's going to put them together and people can access them later. And I don't know if this will be useful or not, but I'm sort of curious what happens if you designate one person in your group, the person who like observes the conversation and helps you stay in that balance of rooted in reality and future oriented, and catches you if you're like focused more on one than the other. All right, so groups of 5. The things you're sharing are new challenges, things that are working, ideas you're playing with or heard about. And now stand up, find your group of 5, sit down and start doing that. All right, one more detail. This is an example of structure that you should use only to the extent that it feels helpful. I am going to ring a bell, breaking our time roughly every 10 minutes with the intent of giving you space to focus first on sustainability, then on partnerships, then on development, and then on adaptability. There is some overlap, especially with the adaptability piece. You might find that you're talking about adaptability and all the other ones. But this is just to give you some space to remember to talk about an area that you might not lean towards, but you might have a useful conversation about. Okay. I really like all of the deliberation I saw with people making groups. So go.
And you know, as a basis, I think is to re-examine really your mission and your programs. Which programs in this environment are feasible? Which one, if your budget is not, which ones reach out to your audience, to the community? Which ones are not only popular now, but which ones do you want to be soliciting support for into the future? To really look at who you are. And I've even known, I have worked in Colorado, but organizations, once they did that, they pulled the plug, or in a difficult time, or they merged with other organizations to look at, am I duplicating? What sort of things am I doing? Because are you relevant? That is the question in a very difficult environment. And then I do think what Millward suggests is, it's always after the fact, but I think a good organization tries to find a balance between grant making and government funds and their audience, being funded by their audience, the people they're and if they're having a significant impact, to be looking to your angels, look to the people who have been your traditional funders, but then also look to particularly business funders. I always think that business is the last people I think that people approach, because it's scary to approach a business compared to whatever. So I think, look, that's right. But really then to really carefully examine what have been your traditional and what you can count on and where
We're supposed to get it this week.
I do think it's all based in audience. It's based in your customer. We're talking about a business model. Am I meaningful to my customers? And if you are that, then you can sell it to a business who will provide support.
Insecurity. We've been doing an exercise. I mean, there's always been insecurity, but we've been doing an exercise like whatever. To your first comment, things that I'm just referring to stop, start, change. Even I've been challenging all of my programs to work with their staff and talk about what can we stop doing. It's not useful anymore. It's outdated. Someone else is taking that up. What can we start doing or not doing now? But what can we tweak?
Right. You know, it's like, yeah. And I think,
Since the landscape has changed so much.
Sorry.
And I think,
you know, it is easy to become complacent and rely on these consistent sources. And I think what's really hard for nonprofits and organizations right now is this
we just aren't going to see.
has happened, that it's just been it's seemingly immediate, right? Whereas being able to adjust takes time. And so to suddenly have, yanked out. And so those often then impact organizations like funding, for example, Wyoming Humanities, but those are jobs being cut. Like that's the biggest way to sometimes make these huge budgets. So just, I think for us, it's like, how do we give ourselves time to adjust?
Generational wealth transfer.
You bring up a point. In some ways, I find more difficult than losing funding is unpredictability.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
The idea that funds come in and then 3 months later they're back. And this kind of thing. And certainly, be in an environment of uncertainty. If it's solid, and then I can deal with anything. But if it might change 3 months, there's a feeling of helplessness.
Yeah, no, I think planning is really hard right now. Like we were talking this morning about, not only stuff changing big time at the federal level, Zoom changes, bills coming across we didn't expect, but also the governor coming. I think it's great. So good. The future, I think for every sector looking at a small bank, it's a little hard.
Billions of dollars transferring with
that.
So, they hold,
Right.
Boomers hold what?
Like at the Arts Council,
One and a third of
go
the
away.
trust fund
Two-thirds of
grants
the.
go away, that changes the landscape for every organization that has,
Where do the trust funds come from?
yeah, so it's all legislative appropriation, and it's in a corpus right now, it's like accounting funds. We're really close, 19.75 or something, but, it's not enough though, we need like 250 million. But, so we spend the interest earnings off of that. And there was new legislation, we can only spend, like, there's a percentage of interest earned that we're limited to.
Yes.
It's not that much.
That's how we treat down.
So yeah, it can go back into the corpus, and we always do kind of reserve some to keep the corpus growing a little bit. It's not.
That's the thing that's working.
The statutory piece is like, yes, that piece is statutory.
If you had a doom and gloom director?
It was a law last year that passed, but we did work with the treasurer's office on it and corporations, and it's not a bad thing. In a way, it gives us more consistency, right? Because we kind of know, because we've had a lot of wide swings with like interest earnings changing with the markets.
Which is kind of,
you know, or like all of a sudden we had capital gains, and we're like,
I understand
oh,
it.
now
I'm just like, my heart breaks.
I think for
organizations,
I go into theater the year
to, I think you mentioned time to
our theater was originally run by
have a conversation with staff. I think staff can be a big resource. It depends on the organization. But to get everyone focused to action. And I think, that sounds simple, but I think that's true. And then some of these other things we talked about. But I think it's a time for a nonprofit organization to circle their wagons around their audience and their traditional funders and communicate. Let them know. Start to activate your base. Because I think if you're dealing with government, if you're dealing with business, if you're dealing wherever, you want to be able to say, we have this impact. These are our supporters.
Well, in theater support is the same.
And all of those supporters can be going to the business or can be speaking to the legislature. In other words, come up with a voice. Come up with the strongest voice you can come up with. And not only come up with the voice, to then poll those people, have a session and say, what is the solution to our problem? And they make come up with what you wrote down here today. And if they come up with it, they have a
just out of that partnerships.
and then you can say, would you join our committee to say
Sharing resources?
But to
we haven't
the humanities
Wyoming about it yet.
in Wyoming, and then that kind of ownership leads to action. It's basic, but I think people in a moment of panic forget the basic.
One of the things I think works on mountain. Share spaces and share facts. Yeah. Share facts.
Well, and I think something that's working with the is good at is spreading awareness.
That's just a marker, it's been 10 minutes. If you're on the 10 minutes for each of the topics,
I know, I couldn't even look at the well, actually,
Thanks, Chloe. Glad you offered that.
I mean, I could, you got the back and,
if we need it. Oh, okay. I think we're still in partnership.
what is my I'm sorry. Really, you were eating your strawberry?
Oh yeah, we'll still keep it.
Oh, yeah, we'll get it.
We're gonna need that for development.
Yeah, we'll need it. At the halfway mark, I'll go to the second page. Okay, so challenges of partnerships. I mean, I think fatigue.
Oh, fatigue.
Just like everyone's just
Extreme
like,
fatigue.
so building by doing that,
increase
you're
competition.
building
And so it's kind of like
you know,
more like everyone's kind of
a group
hunkering down for winter.
that will be advocates
Yeah, and this is my
I just
for,
think,
you know, and
cafeteria.
Yeah.
The scarcity mindset.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Write that down. Yes.
Programming and
what is the alternative?
It's all kinds of. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a lot, there still is so much organization, especially when it's specifically full-time performance, like one of the channel down and a little bit look like the sports of arts and with marching are around working, there's absolutely the scarcity of 2.5 blocks, I don't know, like if somebody else takes home shouldn't, like, why is it scarce? But there's still so much the organization. Like I'm talking to so many organizations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Conversation. I'm starting. I'm like really see I'm taking that
That's like,
seriously.
yeah, and that's like the, at least for here, isn't particularly new, because we have,
Casper's so interesting.
yeah, we have technically 5, because we have Wyoming that lives here, and so like the posters and the windows you guys saw is for Wyoming, and then just a couple blocks that way, we have stage 3, which is like the really big one, and then we were a couple blocks away, now we're just in Casper.
Yes.
And then,
Which
like,
is on brand.
yeah, and then like our main highway has, or not like main highway, but like kind of main roadway through town, well, through the west side, has, yes, Casper Theater Company. And then we also have a college,
And
which
we have
like the
Casper
college is
Children's
kind of
Theater.
exciting, and we have Casper.
Which I think you do have to factor in when it comes to like thinking about
What's the pipeline?
ways to look and so many with some like you think, oh well, if I want to write grants for theaters, like or like attract more donors for theaters. Well, what are you doing for the kids, right?
Yeah.
You don't like
Yeah, they have their own space. Fair enough, yeah. Which Theater of the Poor has started a children's program. This last year we started Theater for Kids because our artistic director has his theater history PhD.
And that's what I was involved in.
And so he teaches them theater from like the historical perspective and stuff. So they do like Shakespeare. Yeah, they do Shakespeare. They do like stuff that was written, you know, in BC's.
But like how much are these organizations?
Well, that's what I was gonna say is, yeah, we,
for a long time.
yeah, and right now, we kind of have an, yeah, we kind of have, the Fringe is great to cause discussion. Yeah, the
That's a
Fringe was
great
great
example of things that are working.
Well, and I wonder if that is an example of,
It's new, it's early.
like, I think novelty.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
It's hard because, like, novelty is also exhausting. It's like a new thing.
Like, a couple of years ago, we did, the Senator here in town, and we got stage 3 to work at Theater Before on that. Because
What was the United
super
project?
cool play that no one had ever done in 100 years, you know, the scripted ones, right?
Well, and
Great,
the
we got
great
to work
benefit
on
of
that, and then
that
it's like,
is
oh,
that,
same
as I think of
you
it,
know,
to
but like that's
suddenly it creates the communication between
5 years,
organizations
you know,
we've been talking about. It does avoid duplication.
But
And I
right
do
now,
think that
the new president
it worked very well in Wyoming, and you're still going to fundraise on your own.
So we have that in
And
like,
it is,
thank you, Will.
that's a sustainability fund. I know, having been involved in the Chipotle facility, that was when I was the chairman of
Do you know?
yeah, I've done it, but the problem was we already had that kind of bond between some of the arts organizations and the legislature.
I know these
In Wyoming, I don't know if we can count on the legislature. You see, that's, I think, in other words, what I'm saying is the United could lead to the, United.
I mean, Anthony does. He wears a lot of low-cut shirts.
I mean,
he has like a
have both.
low-cut shirts everywhere he goes. Yeah.
Big barrel chested.
Yeah, big beautiful dancer. But yeah, Sydney is
Well, they've started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I know Sydney from dance at the college. So we all kind of know each other. Will's my husband. Best friends. But yeah, so it's like not how it is now.
It's a nepo.
I mean, I think
Well,
that's
then I'm for it. I think
there becomes cliques, you know, there's like, I don't know, just like,
especially here.
well, and I think it's true everywhere.
And if it builds.
Yeah, yes.
Mean girls. Yeah, like prisons get kind of clicky, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I learned anything from my name is Earl.
Like they're all the communities are hurting so bad right now because of property tax changes
In our building, and
that
we've had to do a lot of
I
work.
think I sense
to like
that there's
figure out
going
what
to
we
be
want
some
to
resistance
because
right now
it's hard to get
until I mean that's a temporary change
like
until that falls back in like
and
that's
there is
this
this
battle to say we're taking another piece of the tax away that you had to
yeah,
spend
it's like, oh,
before is
that's,
going to be
they don't really
challenging right now. That doesn't mean it can't happen.
But there is this like thing where it's like, yeah,
Right.
I guess that's probably not a new challenge that was.
That's present.
Yeah.
yeah.
Have they given you the results?
Yeah, it's like anything new has to be blessed.
I mean, what it incentivizes is having more sales tax come in by increasing your tourism and your, you know.
Well, and in Denver, in the cultural facilities district, we could demonstrate afterwards how many hundreds of millions of dollars that tax generated in the business community, hotels, events, all of these kinds of things. The legislature responds to data, and that's what's great about what the Alliance has done. But to be able to demonstrate.
Yeah, it's there's pretty good. I think that it is always really challenging.
That's like they might be up here for one
like it's super
opportunity,
challenging
and then they're like, no, we can't do that. That's
to
too
figure out the return on investment.
That's thinking
You can figure out how many tickets are sold, but to figure out how what they spent on the multipliers were hard. Where they ate, where they stayed, where they did they stay extra days because of X, Y, and Z? Like those are the things that are really tricky to get a handle on. That Jay's putting a lot of time into thinking about because they weren't able to really grasp it as well as they wanted to.
You know, I'll tell you one. Well,
Okay, so in
exactly.
theory, you might be
but
moving
the one
on
thing
to
it
development now.
doesn't do, and I was part of that, so I'm all for it. But in this environment, I question it a little bit. But the one thing it doesn't do, it again makes the organizations reliant on government for their funding. The United model creates partnerships between the organizations and strengthens them. In other words, being fishing or having a handout. You know what I'm saying? If you want to build a strong independent sector from one dependent on government, the first one to do is the private.
Right? So then the people who want to come to it, and the people who don't, say stupid stuff on Facebook and don't come. And it's,
Love that. Value-based programming.
Okay.
I felt the sticky too, but I was like, oh, that's
That's what she
I was like, I felt it. Speaking neurotic.
Hey,
will take it away. It will disappear. I mean,
Well, again, maybe, hey, it's both.
Can I ask a question? I'm curious to know if organizations are feeling like they can't hire staff. Like you can't, not, I mean, as a resource, not just money, but like, are organizations struggling to find people? I feel like we are at the state.
Like qualifying jobs.
Yeah, like the applicant, not getting as many applicants as we did in the past, and
Yeah, we've actually, in Teton County, from the little bit of intel I have, I feel like the last decade plus probably come across a lot about how hard it is to hire. Just the outdoor housing industry is not expensive.
Right. You can work there, you just can't live there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tons of positions, but they don't pay to afford to live there. Yeah. So that's always an issue, but I've heard recently in the last year is that actually openings are getting a lot of response, and we just hired a part-time position in the spring, and we got 10 applicants. I was shocked. So I don't know what change is happening.
Back to basics. Yeah, I wonder if cultural organizations, it's kind of like a reality check. I feel like, well, one factor is, I'm seeing state jobs are, they don't pay as well as the private sector. And even though they're trying to do but the thing that has always sold the state jobs, my experience,
We gotta do something.
the benefits
We gotta do something different.
that comes along with it that you don't get in the private sector, right? Pension, all that. But Gen Z, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for time off, flexibility, and they want to work from home. Right. And government jobs don't
Programming,
offer a lot of that.
like in that reality check, I was looking for really,
Okay.
is this sustainable for us to do this?
Changing times. So many things to consider.
And
Yeah, the new generation doesn't look at that. You know, Gen Z's, like when I say new generation, I mean people that are just now entering the workforce are Gen Z. And they view things a lot differently. Like, they want time. It's one of the first questions they ask in an interview. Like, how much time do I get off? When does it start? How much audience through with that visibility? Like, that's what they want to know. And they're going to use it. And if they get it, that's valuable. What? Yes.
Marketing, social media, well, it feels like you're just screaming into it. Yeah.
Marketing really. Well, traditional arts and humanities is the audience changing.
So that's a, I feel like that's no challenge there because it was just like, oh,
It
well, you
seems
just
to me
put it in
more
the
for the
paper.
people go to festivals, to
And
rock
your
concerts,
people are reading
to
and listening to
being outdoors, hiking,
And now
to
we're
going,
and not
what's the
on those
answer?
standard channels. Local television.
Is the audience for traditional arts and humanities?
I think it has been for a long time.
He was talking like professional artists or whatever, and they were saying, the professionals were saying like, yeah, it's really hard. And right now marketing is, they're having to adapt and change their formulas of service to not working.
Honestly, I was like, how much is Cool.
Well, and I'm just aware of how old the audience is. But how old the audience is.
And there's so much more to do, by the way. There's so much more to do today than what.
That's what we were talking
And
about.
Green Tea Music Festival is definitely having that challenge. There's a lot of things.
Yeah. No, I know.
Traditional audience to their
But that or even AI,
concert
it
series.
took me 7 hours. I could do it. So I just recaptured 5 hours because I have, there's so much more to do. I think we're being asked to do more.
Yep.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. How to adapt without alienating. Yeah.
but that applies to everything.
And
That's my
so it's
question.
like, how do you,
Is,
like, none of us can write like
again, from a sustainability, are we reaching people?
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
when I
attention
was
is reaching, yes, but
head of
she's tweeting from the toilet. I love
yeah.
it.
On check, he's tweeting while getting his like diet, Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
And if it's a shrinking number, we pick someone very often that is impacting 20,000 people or more, and that would enable us to, even if we didn't have the money to go to a partner and say, would you join us in supporting this initiative? Because we can be supporting education for young people in the arts and humanities. But within that, if they said it's 4,000 people, that's what's good about your model.
Yeah. I mean, I do think, like, back to
Is
the
it our
basics.
cultural
Again,
facilities
I think
get
one-on-one
tears and it
connection,
helps the
a
most.
phone call,
But I
coffee.
do really have to ask you the question, is there an audience?
But we also try to measure impact in different ways, and I think it's really easy to get bogged down just by numbers. And I think organizations are many different sizes, and anyways, we're trying to certainly track numbers as a way to impact. We're not having real world track. Yeah, it's less and less. People stay after a program, so the more talking and making connections that they're discussing, if they're following up with things like we consider that impact and beneficial as well.
Like, thank you cards.
I'm all for that. You know, I was just thinking in terms of government. Very often the government asks, how are you impacting in terms of the numbers? Or in terms of sales tax,
Still write it by
in
hand,
terms of
yeah.
data.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because development for the city is so grassroots. Like, most of our donors give $20. And I am seeing it. I've done it for years. I started seeing $20 donors become $100 donors. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I get $10 a month for the others. I get $10 a month for and I just say, okay, well, I'm not going to go.
I think people are used to having to get into that now,
70%
you know,
of that.
in order to
Yeah.
prove that they're worthy of it.
So we got to, I guess,
Okay, a few thoughts for your last 10 minutes. Thanks for letting me interrupt you for a sec. So you could be shifting to adaptability right now. Here's your last 10 minutes. In these 10 minutes, here are some pieces of advice. One is make sure you know who your spokesperson is, and have your spokesperson be ready to bring up. And I talk about this as a group if you don't want the spokesperson to have to go solo. But what's the thing, what is one example from each of these categories that you just really want to share? Like your favorite or the thing that might be the most useful. And then as you look at the 3 examples you're presenting, if they're all in one of these 4 categories, star a couple other things on your list for the other categories. That'll help prep us for the discussion. And then just take a moment and notice where you are in your conversation and be thinking, like, what's the best use of our time right now? Is it to move to the 4th category? Is it we want to ask each other some questions that may or may not have anything to do with this topic? Just go for it. Okay.
I think we've already moved to adaptability.
That's the big, it's like the challenge is trying to work with this, and what's working is getting people's attention more
individual, more in person, like rooting back to community and connection, authentic connection.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something doesn't feel always like, oh, and think about that perspective as a donor. They like to, that is the social
like how
aspect
we started
of
it, right? Is like humanities are not just to have.
And I do make sure that is so interesting. I was just thinking about that this morning.
Yeah, and I think we just,
I talked about going to
what I'm trying to do, like, I think we're trying to do it.
Because sometimes I,
But
yeah, I
like,
mean, so, and I call my business.
for example,
the
way more money right off the bat than
we have to compartmentalize a little bit, right?
Okay, but if you attract these people that are coming to mountain bike, I mean,
Like, I'm an artist.
why
whatever.
you're gonna get like 4 days
Yeah, and
in
it's
their
like I
bike.
have to put it
for like
all
2 nights.
to
I've
exist
been
in
my campus, but if you give them something to do
Oh
and
my
activity
gosh.
that will engage their entire family, then how much are you, increasing that number of
but this, like, walking
the money that it brings in when you've got an entire family here participating in it. I mean, that's, I think, that's my, I tried it myself right now. We're adding value
she came up to me
adding time and adding where there's already
I'm
people coming.
realizing how many allies.
You know, this link to the community, yesterday, the discussion of placemaking.
I'm not reaching
within it. I think
that's
what all the communities.
Yeah, I felt that with her.
And
I think you guys
talking about that environment, everyone wants to have a vital community, and that we can be helpful in that. Not only economic development, but the people who are already there, and for the people who may be coming in. You know, so.
We're pretty awesome. And there's awesome stuff happening. How do we like, how do we work together to promote each other in other parts of the state that don't yet, Andrew, right?
Yeah.
So I would have never seen his house
Yeah.
without that from the friends. And I'm like, you need to take this story. Everyone needs to hear the story. Did you see that?
Is that
Yeah. That was so cool. And it was like the first time he performed that iteration of it. And I'm like, every corner of the state needs to see this at some level. How do we get on the road? And then, well, of course, it's go back to funding. And then you go back, but it's partnerships and all of this coming together. Because we are all connected, right?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that?
So she said that I was, bring up moderation. Is that required?
One in each.
Oh, one in each.
Do you feel like the same division exists between the southern tier of the state and the northern tier?
I think like the fringe and all.
Yeah.
Is event is
I'm
things
saying
that bring us all
that
together.
the southern tier
That's working as partnerships is
is more amenable to the arts and culture compared to the north. And now there are pockets like Cody and Jackson, but then we're going across to Sheridan and whatever. I'm just saying, it seems like that. What I'm saying, it seems like the Freedom Caucus is strong.
Yeah, innovation.
And I do think, you know, like, Lindsay, I hear you saying we need more people.
They're
And I
still
think that's
valuable.
and
They're still
also, I
interested
think
in arts and
it is such
humanities and tradition,
vulnerable.
right?
It's such a
But doing it
vulnerable
through
place.
yeah, or like
And so I do think small.
When I meet with them individually, I see it. As a
we
class.
have an interesting exhibit right now called Saddle Up, and it's in
Yeah.
partnership with the Cowboy Queens.
Well, and we've had
And I did not realize this until the unit was installed, and all the
doing
citizens
awful
from
stuff,
around
you know, damaging
Wyoming
property,
Falls
making threats, that kind of stuff. So I think all these
reception.
yeah, and
We're
you know, it's like
locally pins on
Yeah.
hats and stuff. I was like, oh my
It's
god,
not-
audience that we typically have in Jackson.
invite danger, like legitimate danger. And so like,
I think
money
they
and time
support
to be exhibited.
the arts.
and yeah,
I don't
That
think
is
they,
honestly,
they don't
that's
want
an
to support it
interesting-
with government.
I don't know that exactly. I mean,
I think
what
that's
I
the
hear.
key.
yeah.
but maybe just not
Because
so
when I meet with them
active because of
individually,
the social
there are many
Whereas
it is so important.
You have to,
in
you
their
don't have
personal
to work
life,
that hard to
100% support.
No.
You have to work real hard.
Like I was surprised by some of the.
But I've had conversations with
They just don't want
different people,
government.
with Freedom Caucus members who said, I'm not questioning whether it's beneficial, it's a good idea. I am not going to spend money.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's correct.
has, by the time we go, I would say that it's almost like the rise in nonprofits. There's just an increase in nonprofits, which is increasing the requests and the strain on some of those grant funding. Because I think we're going to get a lot of people commenting on the delayed funding.
I've got a question. There are
And
the
then
traditional
positives.
Wyoming, but I run into so many people when
I do know that there is. Okay.
You got about a minute and a half to wrap things up.
For political reasons, I mean, I couldn't imagine moving from a state to a state.
And she said there's now more,
But it was, they're true believers, so how many of those people are here flooding in? And I think, COVID exacerbated.
Take all of her status away. Okay, I'm gonna write the Hunger Games for funding here.
Well, they don't have Wyoming values.
Yes. So development, I think the attention economy is the big one. And all we talked about in explicitly was business drag.
We have to be,
which I'm just glad made it.
I mean, there's so much positive information about adaptable.
Yeah.
Everything that we have said working in case of these new
The conservative legislators, when I first started this job, look like mild little lambs now. You know, the people that I thought was in. Yeah, the people that I thought were like crazy.
Well, and that's what the Freedom Caucus calls them. The Freedom Caucus calls them.
I lift up now so that everyone is like, Stacey, your neighbors have more about California.
But the question is it's like they're not a majority anymore, just like the legislature is a majority. We're down to voters, not what the community likes, but the people who vote.
When was your last talk?
Right, it's two different things.
And I've lived in Laramie. I'm in La La Land.
You are.
Usually politically. Me too. Is that, oh my God, is that in the art summit?
All right. As the spokespeople are getting ready for public speaking, can I get everyone else to take your big pieces of white of chart paper and just stick them to the wall over here? And if you took notes on a small piece of paper instead, bring that over to the wall. And I have tape for you. Oh, if you need...
It's the first on the wall. Yours does not need to look like this, okay?
We'll have the spokespeople come up here, so if you need your pieces of paper to talk, you'll be right by them. Yeah, that is very level.
It's happening.
Okay, you gotta stop writing. Nice. All right, you have 15 seconds to get your things up on the wall. You got this. I believe in you. Great, thank you. Folks who are leaving, thank you so much for coming. We're glad we got you for part of the meeting.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Look out for things from me.
All right, so This is the order that we're going to go in, just so you know. Do we still have a spokesperson from this table? No. All right.
Well, you were there. She was there.
Yeah, would you like to be the spokesperson? You can go last. Yeah.
On the spot.
Okay. All right, we're going to start with you all, and then we're going to go counterclockwise and end with Olivia. What's going to happen is the spokesperson's going to come up here, speak into the microphone so our remote people can benefit from our sharing. You're going to share one new challenge, one thing that's working, one idea that you're playing with or that you've heard about. And if you can, as you're presenting them, please say which of the 4 categories you think they fit into. And if that's too complicated, don't worry about that. Chloe's going to take some notes, really just for the purpose of people being able to look at the notes while we're talking, so you're not trying to store it all in your head. And I think that's all we need right now. Oh, no. At the end of you sharing your 3 things, what's going to happen is everyone's going to clap. And that's to kind of take away that awkward moment of wondering if you should clap or not. And we should be celebrating the work that we just did. Here's your mic.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, so I was with Kevin, Ryan, and Marty and Rainey, who taken off. Everyone loves to go first in these things. It's great. I know, thank you so much. So we're going to talk about the first new challenge is that this table is basically split between folks who are at the very beginning of their organization's lifespan or their project, and folks who are in long-standing or very sturdy and robust organizations. And it was illuminating to discuss about being unsure if a project can even be feasible, not really knowing if a project is actually feasible, and to ask that to someone who is in charge of a sprawling, long-standing campus with robust donors and state and federal funding. So I would definitely describe those new challenges as experiencing a wide variety of our scope as organizations. Things that are working, the things that are always working in Wyoming are our partnerships, our individual personal relationships. At one point I mentioned that I often don't even think about partnerships as partnerships with an organization. I'm going to pick on Ryan at WYA. I wouldn't think about having a partnership with WYA as an advocacy organization. I would think about a partnership with Ryan, a human being I've known in like half a dozen personal contexts over the last 15 years. And things that we are playing with or we have heard about. One of those ideas I'm going to directly pull from Kevin at the State Museum. This was an initiative in their strategic plan that was to encourage State Museum employees and stakeholders to attend community events even if the State Museum is not a sponsor or working at the event, but just to remember that a responsibility to your organization is just a responsibility to exist in the community that you live in. And I think that's my time. So then we are off to whom?
But first...
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So you just run on up here.
These folks next. Thank you, John.
Okay, so we basically what we did is we talked about all 4 of those: sustainability, partnerships, development, and adaptability kind of together. And so we talked about the challenges that all read off here, and the things that are working and the new ideas. For our table, they kind of apply to all four of those. So, and I'm sure these are common among all of our conversations today, but certainly challenge of losing funding, funding sources that were more previously reliable, government grant source funding for arts and humanities. And the speed with which the carpet was kind of yanked out from underneath us, and how hard it is to have the time to adapt to what happened so abruptly. The uncertainty that's created, how difficult it is to plan in this kind of environment. So there was a challenge of, and this goes to the first exercise that we did, balancing the practical side of it with dreaming big for the future. We know we have to try to minimize our dependence on what we thought were reliable resources to stay in operation. Current environment, another challenge is hiring challenges, not just not having the money to have positions, but not really having the candidate pool for the kinds of jobs that we offer that we used to rely on. That's partly political, partly, I think, the lingering effects of the post-COVID world. A challenge of how we're questioning our audience. Is our audience changing? Do we still have an audience for what we offer, and how do we know that? How do we measure that? Another challenge, how do we adapt without alienating our original audiences? A really good arts theme or sector to talk about there is symphony orchestras. The folks who are, really want the old kind of fashioned high art model, and others who need things that are more exciting and interesting. So those were some of the challenges that we talked about. And then in terms of what's working, we think what's working in our state is something that's been working for us for a long time, that we've had to do by necessity, and that is just be really, really resilient. We're a very resilient sector. We're used to having to rely on ourselves. And Sheila put it great. We've, in Wyoming, in the cultural sector, we've never taken the battle armor off. We always have to struggle to make a case for ourselves and our existence, and fight against political resistance and naysayers and folks that don't think we're relevant. So we're battle hardened and we're resilient already, and that's something going for us. And then in terms of the last piece, which is some new ideas, we talked about really doing a very careful assessment of what is truly successful in the programming we're doing and what's not. What does our strategic plan say, and are we really taking a clear-eyed look at that? Are we willing to let programs go that have outlived their usefulness or that aren't viable anymore? Do we have the ability to make those hard decisions? How do we give ourselves time to plan and change based on how abruptly things have changed? Can we diversify our revenue streams? How do we make sure that we really are staying in close touch with our audience and our community and our funders, communicating with them, finding out what they're interested in, what they want? And then we had a couple of practical ideas for a solution, and there were two of them. One is that it might be high time in Wyoming to put a model in place that's existed for a long time that we've never really tried or had to try. Some of you are familiar with it. It's the United Arts model of funding, or the United Arts and Humanities model. These exist mostly in big cities, in some states or some regions, but this is in the United Arts model. It's a nonprofit that exists to raise money on behalf of the cultural organizations. It helps eliminate duplication of resources. Not everybody has to have their own fundraising staff because United Arts exists to do that on your behalf. It helps pool and resources in other kinds of ways. So there's shared resources that a United Arts organization will take care of, so the cultural organizations can concentrate on fulfilling their mission. And a lot of these administrative things are taken off their plate. It's highly successful. It's never been tried here. It might be time. And then the last one is the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District model. Those of you who like to go down to Denver and have seen the logo, the SCFD, this would require legislation. We'd have to band together to propose it, but it would be a carve out of sales tax revenue that would be pulled together and would be distributed among the cultural organizations of the state. In Denver, it's 7 of the largest counties. It's been phenomenally successful. It has a very big pro-business argument. Individual donors don't have all of these individual hands coming to them for money. They can donate to these United Arts models, or there's a small, in Denver, it's 1 penny for every $10 sales tax carve out, so it's not a new tax. I think both of those things, and we were talking about it, maybe in Wyoming, it's time to give them a try.
Thank you, Millward. I wanted to highlight something that Millward said early on, that because I'm hearing it as I'm coaching and facilitating a bunch of different organizations in different sectors, it's just that abruptness and speed. Folks are finding it just disorienting. And this isn't new to you, but I'm saying it just as a pattern and something to grapple with. Like, we know funding dries up. That's not new for us. We know things change, but it feels different. It's fast, it's abrupt, it's more. So just sitting in that and figuring out how does that change what we do or not. All right, let's go with you all. Ashton.
Thank you. So I was part of this table. Whee! So we talked about everything in its own right as its own individual section. And with sustainability, kind of something that we noticed a lot was it's really important for these organizations to have, yes and very optimistic people in the leadership positions. And we've also found that partnerships and kind of going back to the roots of our organizations and stuff are what is working for us in our resource and financial sustainability when all of our resources are currently being pulled out from under us suddenly. And then with partnerships, what we've noticed is looking at, kind of novelty and events is helping create those partnerships and helping create those relationships. And it's kind of just really important that it is more relationship based. It's important that we know each other and that we actually talk to each other, and that in our organizations as well as to our audiences and whoever's, funding us, our philanthropes who are, donating their money to keep our organizations running. They really value these relationships and knowing, the artists and the, programs that they're contributing to. But like this event or the Fringe that was hosted here at the Lyric recently, and just opening up these conversations with each other and really just reaching out in a very genuine way to help each other and to talk. As far as development, we've kind of seen the arts community move in 2 ways. We've either seen people who are just kind of super overwhelmed and want to hunker down and just kind of, survive the winter. We were talking about a prison cafeteria mentality of resource hoarding. This is, everyone wants to maintain their supporters, their audience, and there's kind of this feeling of not wanting to share. But we've also seen from some organizations and from some individuals a hard left turn, I guess, into development and wanting to really look at changing their programs and growing as programs and growing as people, and using this as an opportunity to really kind of use this panic moment and this moment of change to shape the future landscape of our arts and humanities sector and community. So I think that's it.
Thank you, Ashton. you.
This is our final group.
Yes.
Go, Renee.
Yeah. Except for Olivia.
Oh, that's right. Olivia, you thought I forgot.
So at our table, we tried to bring together a lot of the organizations that had a statewide perspective. So a lot of what I'm going to say is sort of trying to look at the whole, not a local community. We went through all 4 categories, if you will, and then tried to do the 3 subsets under them. Sometimes we ran out of time, to be expected. But a couple things came out which I think are very opportunity-oriented for this. First of all, let's start with the elephant in the room, money. There's pressures coming from all directions on this. There's pressures coming down with the federal arguments. There's pressures coming down in the local communities with loss of property tax revenues. There's pressures on organizations to be raising money when they don't have the skill set to be doing that. There's pressures that are making organizations think about the stresses of the resources they do have, whether it's a building, a facility, a program, or the people. And there's a lot of things that are happening quickly. And by the way, I've survived through several of these. I will tell you the only difference is the abusive language that's part of this one. The others were also very fast-moving, and I'm still here. A couple of things came out of the sustainability with the challenges was the recognition that the way you get through it all is you have to open up and have the partnerships, and you have to have the conversations, and you have to look at your mission. What can you let go? What do you have to concentrate on? Is somebody else doing what you're doing? Do you either partner with them or do you let them run with it? That segued immediately into partnerships. And partnerships are different than partnerships for the sake of partnership. Partnerships have rules, they have assignments, they have duties, and you can't just say, I'm a partner in name only. That doesn't work. There also has to be a recognition of mission and program alignment for partnerships to actually work. And you have to get over yourself. If you're the duplicate, you gotta acknowledge that. Do we need to be the duplicate? Or can we let something go? Or can I take that duplicate programming or activity and hand it over to you, and I'll bring some of my resources along the way? One of the things that came up, we happened to have someone sitting at our table who serves on multiple boards. And I asked her, was she doing it for alignment, or what was her commonality? And it was her expertise that could be used on multiple boards in multiple ways. But one of the side benefits of that was she became aware of what those other organizations were doing. Partnerships. It opened the door for partnerships. The next section of development and fundraising, part of the funding pressure and sustainability kind of hits into the development of matching requirements. Where are you going to raise the money from? Do you have the organizational capacity to start fundraising? The people that say, oh my God, let's throw the next fundraiser, we're going to do a big gala. How many people actually know the percentage limits of what you're supposed to be spending on that to what you raise? 2 of us. So many times, big fundraising galas actually cost more than you bring in. And if you actually ask the people that are coming to your gala what they really, really want, they want to see what you're doing. They want to understand what you are achieving, but you do need to do it in a gala situation, or is that a one-on-one conversation that can actually bring in more money, or as a demonstration of what you do, or the celebration of something that was just achieved. But that's not necessarily a fundraiser. It's an educational opportunity. So, part of it was the fact that sometimes you don't just borrow somebody else's ideas of how to raise money. You have to look at what you're doing and how can you best share that information to get your donors excited to come in and help you. Donors are being stressed along with everyone else, by the way. As all the other funding sources have their glitches happening right now, the donors are being asked to cover more. They would much prefer to focus. And, you know, rather than give you $10 and you $10 and you $10, they'd rather give you $30. I'm just saying. That's one of the realities. From that, we went into the adaptability. And we got a little short in there, but I have to stand up with my one example. Sometimes crisis creates a very unique opportunity. And I'll go back to COVID. The one thing I have seen come out of COVID time and time and time again is our comfort with live streaming. Web meetings. This is now common language for us. We've invested in the equipment and the Wi-Fi to make this happen in so many of our locations. I'm going to the symphony example that Millward started, but I'm going to turn it on a dime. The Cheyenne Symphony, during COVID, the house they performed in meant COVID rules meant that if they had 50 people on stage, there were only 50 people in the audience. They still performed, and they had the 50 people, but they started live streaming it. And if you were a seasoned subscriber, or you could buy a single access to that code, like a ticket, and you could listen to the symphony perform, live stream it at home, where they felt safer. The surprise out of this, that they learned very quickly, was it solved a totally different problem: their aging audience. The aging audience in symphonies is notorious. And giving them an option to stay involved with the symphony at home when they don't have to travel on AC roads, when they don't have to walk in with their canes on slippery sidewalks. And they've retained that audience by giving them that home streaming, and they've kept it. It's an integral part of their programming now. Adaptability. Something that came out of crisis solved an old problem that they weren't paying attention to, and is now integrated and encouraged and accepted and supported. And that's about as far as we got.
Thanks so much, Renee.
Okay. I am the only person left from that table. I'm pretty much here to say that much of this really was what we found in our conversation as well. And I don't think we have any revolutionary things. I wasn't there when we wrote this down, so I'm kind of feeling a little behind the ball. So I think it is wonderful. We really talked a lot about partnerships. I think that's where we spent most of our time. A lot of good ideas. So thank you, Liz, for this microphone. I love it.
Thank you. Awesome. I'm going to leave the sharing at that. Thank you all so much. We're going to take a break. I want to highlight just two quick things before our break. One is if you are someone who just wants to disengage and take a break or talk to people in another way, super valuable. If you're someone who wants to keep thinking, a couple of options or things that you can bring back to your teams to bring them into this conversation. One is over the break, you can look at what other people have on their lists. The other is that if you look at your polarity worksheet, there is a second half of it. And I think this is something that's neat to bring back to teams. You can use it in this context with the same words, rooted in reality, future-oriented, or you can pick any polarity that you think will be good for your team. The thing that might tell you that your team would benefit from this is like dialogue that's just going around and around in circles, or dialogue that's saying, we're 2X. And if we're 2X, this is a good way to bring it in a way that you don't overcorrect, or that you get out of the either we do this or we do this thinking. All right, break until 11:20. So that's 11 minutes. Okay. Yeah, how do we want to situate ourselves? Like, do we want to come in closer or? No, we're not going back to our groups of 5. In fact, mingling might be good. It looks like we're 3 tables still, not 2, I think. No, we're going to work in little groups, like solo or 2 or 3. Yeah, but the first part, we're just going to be one big conversation. Yeah, I think this is great. All right, Chloe's got a vision. No? And it has been really fun prepping this meeting with Chloe and talking about this vision. Chloe's vision is for a working group. To start with, it's a 1-year working group. It's going to meet 4 times, well, really 3 times between now and the next Culture Forum, which would be the 4th meeting. It will be online. Chloe will be the lead/facilitator, and it'll be modeled after what we've done here. So the concept will be, we haven't gotten there yet, but we're gonna work on organizational goals, put some like foundational pieces to organizational goals, and then in the next 3 months between now and January, you'll work on, build out those goals, bring people in that you need to bring into those goals, and then use this working group as a way to share progress, hear what other people are doing, share what's working, lean on other folks for help, see who has resources that you might use. Anything you want to add to that? There's a purpose statement for this working group, which is to gather Wyoming arts and culture organizations to create a more cohesive cultural network. In forming a working group that serves to strengthen each organization by supporting the efforts of others, we will explore adaptability, sustainability, development, and partnerships in a boom and bust Wyoming. Our goal right now for the next 15 or so minutes is to put together a structure for this working group. Let's just assume everyone here is going to be in it. So for right now, you all can kind of put that coat on and see how it feels. The only hesitation that I would say is if there's some differing needs on schedule, that if you're just kind of sure you're going to keep the coat on for the next few months, maybe don't lobby real hard for your schedule needs. But otherwise, do it anyway, lobby for your scheduled needs, even if you're not totally sure that you're coming, because you won't come if it doesn't work for your schedule. So we're going to talk schedule. We're going to talk work between the meetings. We'll talk a little bit about goals, but really we're going to get practical and talk schedule to start with. So the thinking, and Chloe's going to interrupt me at any moment. I actually learned something in this process by how Chloe helps people. I'm a schedule hustler. That's one of my reputations in my last 15 years of work. But Chloe just gave me a process that I wish I had 15 years ago. So we're going to shoot for the first meeting in January. It's going to be a 2-hour meeting online. We might use the whole 2 hours. You might not.
You have a calendar in your packet for reference.
Pull out your calendar. Pull out your phone.
Literally pull up your work schedule if you got it. We're not joking.
All right. The first thing we're going to ask is, and I'm just going to ask people to yell out their ideas, and we'll see how that works. I might adjust that. But the first thing we're going to look at is what week is more helpful to people. So just setting the stage for January. It's cold. It might be windy where you live. We're coming out of the holidays. You may or may not have kids out of school. There's maybe some logic that'll drive this, or it might just really be what you know about your schedule, and board meetings and staff meetings and all that stuff. So first week, second week, third week, or fourth week. Maybe before we're yelling out, maybe just decide in your head 2 of those that would be your first 2 choices. I'm going to give you 60 seconds because I love how I'm watching people flipping through their phone, and I want you to have the information you need. Yeah.
Do you mean like first week starting on January 4th?
Oh, yeah, great question. Because I'm not looking at the calendar.
It'll either be the week of the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, or the 26th.
Thank you. All right, we look kind of ready. Are we kind of ready? All right, you've got 2 votes. Who would put the week of the 5th as one of their options? I see 7. Is this a?
They're all fine. I don't have them.
Okay, great. Then we don't need to count yours. They're all fine is such a wonderful thing to hear in this kind of thing. All right, who, I do have, here, let me just look at the calendar. Who would put their hand up for the week of the 12th? I see 9. Who would put their hand up for the week of the 19th? 5, 6. And who would put their hand up for the week of the 26th? 5. Does that feel like enough? Yeah.
Based on the results, the week of the 5th or the week of the 12th is what we're looking at. Okay? So go ahead and look at those couple of weeks for yourself.
Great, second vote. You get 1 vote this time, not 2. Raise your hand for the week of the 5th. And maybe don't vote if you really don't care. Week of the 5th. Okay, we got 2. Week of the 12th. More than 2. Does anybody want to verbalize anything? Or can we just move forward with week of the 12th? Great. Okay. Next question. Mornings or afternoons? You get 1 vote. Raise your hand for mornings.
How early?
Definitely not before 9.
Okay.
8. Afternoons? Less than 8. Let's start with towards the end of the week or towards the beginning of the week. But I guess to be logical, let's start with towards the beginning of the week. You get 1 vote. 4. Towards the end of the week. 4. Okay, I'm just curious who would have raised their hand if I said middle of the week? Just 2. All right.
Okay, and yeah, who doesn't it matter for?
I mean, I'm
That's even better. Great.
Okay. Chloe, what do you want to ask next?
Let's see. All right, so you guys are pretty split.
So pick Wednesday.
Maybe we go with Wednesday the 14th. Wednesday the 14th in the morning. How does that feel? Do we want to start at 9 a.m.? Do we want to start at 10 a.m.?
10.
Perfect. That was a very resounding and loud. We're gonna plan for a 2-hour Zoom. Whether or not we use all
The concept, and we're not going to figure out times and dates right now, is that there'll also be a meeting in April, July, and then back here in September, October. You can bring other people from your organization. You can spread the word and see if there are other people that want to join us. Chloe will help them catch up on work to be done. What's it called, Chloe?
Oh, I thought about that the other day, and I think we need to come up with something really fun. Super fun. So be thinking about that. 2. Any first ideas? No one cares really either what it's called.
Humanities working group sounds a little drab.
Yeah, no, we're not. Wyoming Humanities Working Group. Who wants to be a part of that? Not me. Not me. Okay, all right, so we know that's not going to work. Okay. All right.
No is still an answer.
Okay. Maybe I'll just put something on the Zoom invite for now that will resonate. Arts and Culture Working Group.
What if you use one of those like band name generators?
Oh, that's what I should do. Okay, band name generator. Okay. Oh, Wilbur did not like that idea. That was a thumbs down. Okay. Okay. I do like the band idea though. Think about like a cool band name for arts and culture people like us. Think about it. Be ruminating. We'll come back to it. How's that?
Perfect. Longer term vision then this year is people commit for the year or even just until January. Participate in January, see how it feels, decide if you want to commit to 3 more months, which of course you will, I just think. And next year, the group may keep going, but it might look different. So the concept is just to think about 1 year at a time instead of thinking like, okay, I'm signing up for something that I have no idea like in the long run where it's going or how long. Could be bigger, could be smaller, could have a different focus, could be disbanded. But the hope is that there will be one culminating meeting where you can look back at the year and say, how was my year different? How was my organization's year different for the work that we've been doing in this working group? All right, so now we're gonna move into organizational goals. And you all have a worksheet in your envelope called 2025 Culture Forum Organizational Goals Worksheet. That's the title that it's not gonna be, but it's our working title for now. You've got the work group purpose statement at the top. Raise your hand when you're holding that worksheet. Okay, great. All right, so now we've been brainstorming, we've been chatting, we've been talking about things. Now do an internal check with, and no judgment, no right answer. This is just for awareness. How oriented am I towards that moment in time when you take ideas and turn them into commitments or flesh them out into more specifics? And just notice that. And then like we did earlier, think through, great, knowing that about myself, how do I want to either harness that or adjust that for the next half an hour for the sake of my organization, for the sake of arts and culture in Wyoming. And what we're going to do now is pretty simple. You choose, when you do this work, do you think you'll benefit from doing it by yourself, with a team member from your organization, with somebody else? So let's get together you can either be by yourself, in a group of 2, maybe a group of 3, if that, like there's reasons that you might want to have a group of 3. If that sounds good, great. We're going to have about a half an hour, so you could also choose to like work by yourself. If you get into a group of 2 or 3, you could work by yourself for the first 15 minutes and then talk. And the concept is, again, use this structure in as much or as little as you think will help you. If it will help you, pick for this first quarter one of the 4 categories: sustainability, development, partnerships, or adaptability. In that category, for your organization, choose 1 to 3 priorities or projects. And then you've got a list of questions to answer for those priorities. But I would recommend, if you don't, unless you really know what the 1 to 3 priorities are, put 5 minutes into, in whatever way works for you, thinking through how do you decide on your first 1 to 3 priorities. I encourage you to be realistic, but not too realistic. If you get too focused on measurable, attainable, SMART goal kind of concepts, sometimes you limit yourself on what's possible. And again, if you get like too big or broad, it can be frustrating to not see the results. So see what feels right. Once you narrow your 1 to 3 down, you're going to identify factors that will help you measure progress and success. And going back to that, don't get too hung up on measurable. Push yourself to measure things that are hard to measure. You might have something really simple, like I want to run a campaign. And one of your action steps might be, I'm going to reach out to 20 people that might be new donors. Those are things that are easily measurable. But let's say, like I heard somebody talk about AI. This is one that I'm just thinking off the top of my head, what might be hard to measure. Like, I want to experiment with how AI might be a benefit to our users. You might turn that into something measurable by saying, we're gonna do 5 AI-oriented projects. And then we're gonna run them by some of our users and get opinions about each of the 5. And we'll use 5 users for each of the 5 projects or something like that. Think through who you might need to get on board to imagine or implement this work. You're just doing the seeds right now. You don't have to go out and be the person who's leading the whole thing. Who in your group might be able to help, who outside your organization might be able to help. Create a simple work sequence, like steps and dates and measurabilities, and then identify other stakeholders and communication needs. So I'm not like, I don't want you to, in a vacuum, unrealistically, sit here and think, I'm operating solo with no one else in my organization, I'm gonna create this whole plan and go deliver it and see if everybody will follow me. But I am asking you all to put the momentum and energy from the last 2 days into creating a really good starting point. That when you leave here, know that you're gonna be thinking of 100 different things. All of those things are gonna be competing with this creative energy, and you want a scaffolding that's easier to go back to than it is to see today, if that makes sense. Or it's easier for you to bring someone into because you've done this work today. Okay, so I'll stop talking so you can do the work. Your goal is to start by deciding, do I want 1, 2, or 3 priorities? You've got a page for each one, and get to it. Any questions? Okay. Congratulate yourself in advance for putting a little bit of work into this. If you sit there and just start staring at the page for a little bit, that's a sign of deep thinking. Okay.
also to be aware.
Yeah.
And that's a,
Yeah, because I think that's a challenge we have. There is obviously, there's efficiency in working together, but we don't necessarily have shared audiences because of geographical difference.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's so, is it close? Not only in the summer,
Like stuff like
you know,
that.
that's a little further away,
Yeah.
but to,
Maybe how you
I think the step of,
see what the not issues are, but where you're like
being awareness.
where you
And say, you know, we have a new interim
increased awareness and
curator who
also probably like maybe like just kind of like
he's a
organizing
national scholar. He just
more
his
like
new book on the West. He's a national historian of the West, and his new book just what is it called? Let's say Newfoundland, something like that. And it was on the Wall Street Journal. It was, you know, it's the cover. Harold says it's one of the most insightful history books on the West in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So he would be something.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's like you ask someone that yeah. I mean, you sort of. To me, it's like okay, you reach out to the initial decision, right? Or I guess before you reach out, you gotta use yeah.
Yeah, that's nice to hear the examples. Internships are always hard for us because of housing challenges and there's policies, but yeah, are there oh yeah, exactly. Are those yeah? It is. No, that's why it's a conversation.
Yes, it's
There's real tea, there's club, there's a chicken sandwich, and there's veggie. Okay, the veggie is also gluten-free.
I'm not an organization yet.
Okay.
I'm a board member, so I can do it, but I didn't. But my goal starts being partnerships and communications network throughout the state of Wyoming.
Yeah.
So I did that around that.
Yeah, great.
But which is different.
And Morgan, are you getting space to work on yours? Okay, great.
While you caught us, we were just goofing off.
What?
No, but we did do some work on it, you know. So this is good. Well, good. I did want to.
Yeah, so this university in a little cute book.
It's arts and sciences, and what is it? There's been a shift. The arts and sciences is what you would consider traditional arts and humanities. History, philosophy. But then there's the social sciences. And
So it'll be great. It'll be fun.
sociology, psychology. And funny that you start to examine the psychology of Native American social networks. You know, those kinds of things.
Okay.
So for instance, I started to called and said, we're doing Buffalo Nation. Is anybody doing Buffalo scholarship? 6 people responded and said, it's yours if you want to use it. If you need us to collaborate.
Right, and that's where like our museums can kind of play that role with the university in providing that venue and platform for turning
That's right.
scholarship
You
and
see,
academics
they want
into
to be
broader
reaching the communities, making a difference. That's their only goal, and it's partly driven by our legislature. What have you done for the state of Wyoming beyond in the So you see it serves everybody. But then, you know, the social sciences, but it also includes, it also includes religious studies, which is the emphasis. But it also, you get political science, communication, marketing, journalism, all of those things are within our college. So there's international studies, which is
Good at it. Finding people with whom we meet again.
the university wants to make sure we have partnerships with international, that every student has an international experience while they're there.
Are you gonna meet in person or on?
So you see, there's a lot, and we people.
It is winter.
The reason I say about that is you know, it's not only
Good job, Ale.
that as you go,
Running here, that's great.
provide those
Yeah.
and part of that whole harmony, just as anything else. But we also focus on business, and we try to have conversations with galleries, with people who are providing
Yeah, maybe some will still.
Western jewelry, all of this kind of thing, because those are the arts. You know, it's often. What do people, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And you know, it's interesting, and I guess it was that a different type of person, different type of visitor. There's a lot of conversation going on in Jackson Hole around, do we have enough visitation? Right? Enough visitation.
Yes.
You know, and it's almost too much of how we balance that with the livability of Jackson. And so I think definitely, and this is where I would want like guidance of how we think about it as our museum, and I mentioned this earlier, we're focused on how do we capture the core people who are coming here and not be a driver. Because I think we could certainly extend Jackson to the expectation.
Maybe it'll be like a New Year miracle.
Universal touch cells.
What are you gonna call this project?
that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll get it. And I'd like to introduce you to Scott.
Please do.
Yes, and to, and several, have you ever been over there?
So what are you gonna pitch?
In the mall?
No, I have not. I haven't come to any of the big ones.
Well, that would be a thing to do
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But to really meet people, that speech is so intense that it really is to be an awful
Yeah.
might be a time. But we're going to time aside for this.
Yeah.
I'll make that happen.
Okay, that sounds
That's
great.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna pause to the back.
This is so
Keep
cool.
talking.
You're doing well.
Saving the security feature of the sector.
Where will we be?
Bruce, you have straight from
What?
straight.
I know the mission is to build productive links throughout the state. Isn't it? Oh, I didn't see you.
You're well suited for that job.
What?
You're well suited for that job.
Well, that's one of the goals of both the Center of the West and the University of Wyoming is to not impose on people, but to say, how can we be of service? How can we create communication? How can we create productive partnerships? And with the idea that it strengthens everyone. It's part of the mission of the university, but in terms of the Center of the West, serves everything we try to do. And we go up, I know, for a retreat together. I know you do.
Sometimes I'm more
I know. Tell me.
You have to be educated on both sides.
All right, take the next 20 seconds to do whatever you can to be done. However much you've done is the perfect amount. Maybe I'll give you a whole more minute.
This is why history is so important. If you don't remember history, it'll kill you.
All right. Take a deep breath. And we are going to move into the wrap-up period of our day. And what I would love it if people did was stand up, walk around, and find someone that you haven't talked to or worked with yet today. And we're going to have you all talk to each other for the next 8 minutes as a pair. So I'm hoping everybody's standing up right now. Psst. Stand up. Find someone you haven't talked to yet. And I'm about to tell you that. Okay. Once I see people roughly in pairs. Yep, someone that you haven't worked with yet today. You might have to do a little shuffling of the pairs. Everybody's supposed to be standing up and looking for someone that they haven't talked with today. All right. And let's actually say 5 minutes. So you're going to need to split the time. And here's your list, so you don't have to remember what I'm saying. But you're just going to share with your partner a learning or insight that you got today, or it could be yesterday if that's the thing that's really sticking out to you. An inspiration that you're leaving with. A person that throughout today you appreciated for any reason, and a person that you might connect with before January in support of your priorities and goals. And with that last one, actually the last two, let's add why. Like, why did you appreciate that person, and why and how are you going to reach out to somebody if you do? Okay, go. If you haven't changed people, you should change now. No, sorry, like the person, if one person's been talking the whole time, you should switch to the other person.
We're supposed to move?
Nope.
Oh, what
No,
do I-
just you want to share the talking time. So if you've been talking so far,
We've
switch
already done
speakers.
that, we've shared with everyone.
Great, then you have a couple bonus minutes.
Oh, good.
All right, wherever you are is the right time to stop. You can sit down, you can stay standing. Chloe's going to give us a few words about closing and lunch and what comes next. And yeah, great.
Liz is like, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready." And then I just didn't follow her. Okay, hi, you guys. How are you feeling? Are you tired? Yes, yeah, your brains have been working really hard. Thank you so much for your time today. And I do truly mean this exceeded my expectations. This is kind of a very scary thing to plan because a lot of its success depends on the energy that you bring to the table. So thank you, because you all showed up. In your packet of information, there is a note card. So get to where you can find your note card. You're not done yet. Not off the hook yet. So there's a sealed envelope. Don't open that yet. And then there's a note card. And you want the note card. Okay. All right, I see a couple, so I'm going to move on. All right, on this note card, well, first of all, you're going to write your own address, okay? Either your office address or your home address, preferably your office, since that's what, we're doing, is working. On your note card, you're going to write down your goal or goals that you want to work on between now and January. Also on your note card, go ahead and give yourself a little encouragement, right? You got this. We can do hard things, right? Also, feel welcome to include some notes to yourself about what needs to happen first to accomplish that goal, right? A lot of you have ideas that are going to need board approval, right? You're going to need money, maybe, some budgeting, perhaps. I'm very excited to see people actually writing their goals on their cards. I'll leave you alone now for a minute.
so sorry. I was late. It's my fault. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's your fault. Write down your goal that you're working on between now and January. There might be multiple goals. Provide encouragement to you. Somewhere on here, write your address. I see some of you are wrapping up. Go ahead when you're done. Put that note card in its envelope, seal it up, and Olivia is going to grab it from you. And 4 to 5 weeks from now, when you've forgotten all about this, I'm going to send this to you. You're going to get a little note in the mail reminding you what you're working on. All right. How are we doing? We good? We're pretty well wrapped up, I think. I will follow up with you already. I already have. It's in your email. Included in that follow-up from today is the link to our next meeting, January 14th from 10 a.m. to noon on Zoom. There is also a link to a post-forum review. Don't worry, not a survey. It's a review. Just kidding, it's a survey. Please complete that for me. It's literally 9 questions. It's gonna take you as much energy as you want to put into it. Let me just say that. But I do really, really appreciate hearing from you and what you thought about today. And if you thought this was at all valuable, and let me know if you think we should do this again, like this, in person. I mean, we're planning on it from a year from now, right? But like, in the interim, maybe, let me know. I just want to thank people again for being here, for bringing your very best selves today. It means the world to me. It means the world to the people you serve in your communities, and I'm really grateful. I have a lot of feelings right now, and I'm trying to just kind of keep them to myself. But thank you. Better than I could have imagined. This is just the start. And it's truly just the start because you literally just wrote yourselves a note. I'm gonna send it to you. We're gonna meet again. We're gonna just continue. We're gonna try to continue to set goals. We're gonna continue to be connected, right? I hope that you have exchanged contact information with someone in this room, that you found it helpful or inspiring. And if not, let's make sure we do that over lunch, okay? Lunch are sandwiches from Grant Street Market. We have a club sandwich, a chicken pesto, BLT, and a veggie option that is also gluten-free and dairy-free. So please help yourselves to a sandwich, help yourself chips, drinks. There's sodas in the cooler there if that's of interest to you. You're welcome to take your sandwich with you if you're just like dying to get out of here. That's perfectly fine. I totally get that. Otherwise, just like come down from the day, sit, eat a meal, be in community without working. How about that? Yay. Okay. So, Renee, yes. Oh, well, get your sandwiches.
Get your sandwiches, and then we'll talk. Okay. Oh, also, yeah, sorry. I had this brilliant idea, but you all might hate it, so sorry. But can we get a group photo, please?
Certainly.
Yeah? Okay, great. Yay! Yes, enthusiasm. Thank you to Liz Toohey today. Oh my gosh. I can't even tell you, you guys, the things, she just really transformed this idea into something actually real. So thank you so much, Liz. I really appreciate you. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much, you guys. Okay, grab lunch, come back. You'll hear about some exciting new opportunity. Oh, you want to hear? Yeah.